The highlighted portions we have already covered, and we will move on to now the devices part, and then by using those devices we will have to look at how to design amplifier. Okay. So the first device that we will look at is going to be BJT. You know already what is BJT. It's bipolar junction transistor. So bipolar because both electrons and holes participate in conduction of the device. Okay. And junction, there are PN junctions in the device. So if I draw the diagram of the structure of this device, then you can have three combinations. So one is the NPN transistor, NPN. So these are doped regions, and to each of this region you have a terminal. So BJT is a 3-terminal device, and though it may look symmetrical, but actually it is a asymmetric device with respect to the structure. The emitter region is going to be very heavily doped, and P is very lightly doped, and N is moderately doped. And so heavily doped means doping concentration is something like 10 raised to 18, 10 raised to 19 impurity atoms you put per centimeter cube. Okay, so that many number of impurity atoms. So if it is N-type impurity that you are putting, you will get N-type semiconductor, and impurity atoms could be something like anything that would donate an extra electron. Phosphorus, arsenic are examples. Then moderately doped. Moderately doped means the doping concentration is something like 10 raised to 16 to 10 raised to 17 centimeter. And lightly doped means 10 raised to 14 to 10 raised to 15. Okay. So that many number of impurity atoms. Depending upon whether it is P region or N region, you will have donor impurity or acceptor impurity. Okay, so if you put in donor impurity, you get N-type. Acceptor impurity, you will get P-type. And there are two junctions because there are 3 regions of material. So I call this as emitter, this as base, and this as collector. The first junction here, this is called as the emitter base junction. So you have EB junction, and you have also a junction between base and collector. So you can call it as BC junction. Okay. Okay, so for this particular course, we are interested in using this device for amplification purpose. So this will be part of a circuit which will function as an amplifier. So this alone cannot function as an amplifier. This plus some additional components are required, which would operate in the way a model amplifier would operate. Okay, so we have to look at first this device, and then what is the kind of circuit that we need to build in order to replicate the behavior of a model amplifier. So that's our aim. Okay, so in order to look at the operation of the device, we will not go into the full details because you had already taken a dedicated course on devices which involves a lot of derivations. But here we will just quickly go through some of the important parts. Okay, so there could be two kinds of BJTs. One is the NPN, which I have drawn. The other is you can have PNP. So emitter, base, collector, again 3 terminal, 2 junctions, emitter base and collector base collector junction. Then here you will have P plus, then N minus, and P. Okay, so P plus or N plus means heavily doped, then P or N means moderately doped, P minus, N minus means lightly doped. Sometimes you will see terms like P plus plus also, that it will be like 10 raised to 19 or more. Okay, that's like the upper end of the heavily doped range. Okay, so these are the 3 terminals. Now the symbols of this device for NPN, the symbol is going to look like this. So this is your base, this is your emitter, and this is your collector. And here you will have again collector, base, emitter. So this is the symbolic, and this is the schematic. Now in order to make a BJT to function or to use for the purpose of designing an amplifier, then one of the first thing that you need to look at is the characteristics, the behavior of the device. And there are various biasing you can do. That means the way there are 3 terminals, you can apply at least 2 voltages across these 3 different terminals, and that will define the voltages that will come across these emitter base junction and the base collector junction. But for the purpose of amplifier, we will majorly focus on one type of external applied voltage that is basically to make the emitter base junction forward biased, and collector base junction or base collector junction we will reverse bias. So the voltage should be applied in such a way that one of the 4 mode should be always selected. Okay, so there are 4 modes possible, depending upon the voltages that will come across these 2 junctions. There are 2 junctions, and each junction can be independently forward biased or reverse biased. So emitter base junction and say collector base junction, you can call it as base collector junction also. It's the same thing. It's referring to whatever junction between base and collector. So if you forward bias emitter bias base junction and then reverse bias the collector base junction, so this is what is called forward active mode. Okay, so the inverse of that is basically you reverse bias this and forward bias this. Because the device is not symmetric, you will have very different characteristics, and this is reverse active or inverse active also it is called, reverse active or inverse active. Then we have both reverse biased, so that is basically called cutoff mode. last option is you forward bias both junction you will have saturation. Now in digital circuit we use the last two modes where the transistor, so a transistor means BJT here. There are other types of transistor, we will come into it later. So transistor will function as a switch. Okay. Will function as a switch, but for our present course we are interested in using BJT for building amplifier. So for that this is the chosen mode. So we will limit our discussion with respect to this mode because this is analog electronics. Okay. Okay, so let me bias this transistor to make it operate in the forward active mode, or simply active mode also we can call it. Okay, so we have the emitter. So this is my emitter terminal, and we can take either NPN or PNP. So let me take say NPN. So this is very heavily doped, so it is N plus. And the next thing that I want to say is that the width of the base region is going to be small. This is another important factor for making good transistor. We will see why. Okay, so these are the three terminals. So we want to make the emitter base, sorry, this is our base. Okay. So emitter base junction we want to forward bias. So what we need to do, if this is a NPN transistor, that means base should be more positive compared to emitter, because P side is base and N side of the junction is emitter. So in order to forward bias, we have to apply the polarity of the battery like this. And we know already from the diode characteristics that when a junction, PN junction is forward biased, we cannot give a voltage which is much greater than 0.7. So ideally we give something like 0.7 if it is a silicon material that you are using to build this BJT. So I will call this now VBE. So the approximate value where we observe a forward biased current is when the input voltage is greater than cut-in voltage. Okay. Right now I am not putting any resistor to limit the current, but if I carefully apply the voltage such that it is say at 0.7 volt, then there should not be any problem. So usually we put a series resistor to limit the current. So here I am carefully applying the voltage to be 0.7 volt, not higher voltage. That would damage the device. And to apply a reverse bias across the other junction, that is base collector junction, what I do is I could take this base and collector terminal, or I could apply, what is more popular is to apply the battery like this. Okay. Both are possible. All you need to make sure is that there is a reverse voltage coming across the base collector region. So base is P and collector is N. So N should be connected to the positive terminal of the battery, and this we call it as VCE, voltage at the collector with respect to emitter. So the order of the subscript for this voltage, here it is VBE because negative terminal is connected to emitter and positive terminal is connected to base. So voltage at the base with respect to emitter is VBE, voltage at the collector with respect to emitter is VCE. Now what should be this value, so that it would be reverse bias. Now it's not very clear and direct because we are not applying a voltage which is same as VCB. Okay, so we need to write what is VCE. VCE is basically equal to VCB plus VBE, and VBE is shown to be 0.7. So therefore VCB is going to be whatever is the VCE that you apply minus 0.7. So we want to make sure that this voltage should be negative. So for that purpose, so VCB, so it is better to write it as VBC because that will give you the magnitude of the reverse voltage. So here if you look at it is the voltage at the N side with respect to P side, but usually we say the voltage across the PN junction as P side voltage with respect to N side. So I would like to reverse this. So therefore VBC is basically negative of this 0.7 minus VC. So and so how sorry, so here there is a plus. I made a mistake. Let me see. Sorry. So VCE minus VB. Yeah, that's correct. So VCB, which is basically, so it is the negative of VBC. So VBC, I am just taking a negative of the above equation. So I have 0.7 minus VCE. So what should be my VCE so that this would be, so everybody understand how I got this equation, this particular equation. This is basically taking a KVL. If you look at, so there is one voltage drop here, another voltage drop here. So this is plus minus VBE, and here it is plus minus VCB. Okay, so VBE plus VCE is equal to the total voltage VCE. Okay, so now the question is like how much should be my VCE so that I will ensure that VBC is a reverse voltage. Ideally speaking, VCE should be, in order to make VBC, in order to make VBC negative, that means that the diode is applied with a negative voltage, you should have VCE greater than 0.7. But we already know from the operation of the diode that the diode will work more or less like an off switch until the voltage across it becomes greater than the cut-in voltage. The cut-in voltage, even if you take it a little bit smaller side, that is like say 0.5 volt, the diode is basically can be approximated for practical purpose as a closed switch. So the real current flow happens only after the cut-in voltage. So even a positive voltage which is smaller than the cut-in voltage, we may treat it as like a reverse bias voltage. Okay, so it is more like a reverse bias voltage because the current magnitudes are very small. So if we say reverse bias strictly doesn't mean that it should be negative voltage, but voltage is lesser than say some 0.2 voltage lesser than cut-in voltage, then it operates more like a reverse bias compared to the forward bias. Means there is no heavy current flowing. So what we will say is that if this voltage, if VBC can be made to be something like say 0.5 volt, even that is good. I mean, ideally speaking this should be lesser. Okay, so this should be less. For reverse bias condition, this should be, here it should be greater. Okay, VCB should be greater than this, and so this should be, if I take it as 0.5, that means 0.5, 0.7 minus VCE. So from this we get that VCE should be greater than, so if I take this to the other side it will become minus 0.2, and then I multiply with the minus sign, then VCE greater than 0.2 volts. Okay, so what did I do? I took this 0.7 to the other side, so it became minus 0.2, then multiplied it with a minus 1 on both sides, so that will make this side positive, but less than become greater than. So any voltage that you apply here greater than 0.2 volt will be effectively considered as making the collector base junction operate like a reverse bias. Okay, that doesn't mean that we have given really negative voltage at P with respect to N, but that voltage will be lesser than the cut-in voltage. So we are okay with that. It should never be greater than cut-in voltage or even near to cut-in voltage. So for safely we are taking this to be 0.5, VBC to be 0.5, so lesser than voltage 0.5, because at 0.5 forward bias voltage you will not get any conduction, so it is effectively like a open circuit reverse bias. So we will treat so let me just make it very, very clear. So what I am saying is that our PN junction voltage is VBC, or 0.5, which I said is here. So anything here I am going to treat it like a reverse bias, and anything to this side I will call it as forward bias. So that's what I have mentioned. So for this junction, but for forward biasing I need a 0.7 or larger. Okay, VB should be greater than 0.65 or larger. Okay. So this is the PN junction voltage. So those are some details. Alright, so we achieved, using these two batteries, we achieved the mode of operation of the BJT to be in the forward active mode. Now what happens in forward active mode? When a particular junction, VBE, PN junction is forward biased, then what is going to happen is basically a lot of diffusion of these carriers from one side to the other. Okay, so there will be a lot of say holes diffusing from this side. I'm talking about VBE junction or the emitter base junction, and there is going to be a lot of electrons going on the other side. Okay, both will happen. Okay, because basically we are reducing the barrier, and then when you forward bias we reduce the barrier, when you reverse bias we are increasing the barrier. So so the green color corresponds to holes diffusing across this emitter base junction and coming into the emitter, and the red color arrow represents the electrons diffusing from the emitter side into the base region. But already I told you that we have, when we construct the transistor, in the N side the number of electrons is much greater than so NN. So I hope you are familiar with these terms from your devices. So NN means so this subscript stands for N side. In this case it is the emitter, and this N stands for the number of electrons, concentration of the electrons. Okay, number of electrons, or more precisely concentration. So concentration of electrons on the n side is much greater than the concentration of holes on the p side. So here this is stands for p side, this p stands for p side, and this is concentration of holes. So this condition, or in other words, the number of impurity atoms with which we dope in the emitter, Ne, is much greater than Nb. Okay, so this is the concentration of the impurity atoms. You can approximately take for an n-type semiconductor, the number of holes and some number of electron is same as basically the concentration of the n-type impurity that you are doping in, and the concentration of holes in the p-type material is basically equal to the concentration of the acceptor impurity that you dope in. Okay, so since it is base, I will denote with Nb, and this is emitter, E for emitter. Okay, so because of this condition, so whatever is the current that flows due to these two diffusion, the current direction will be same. So what is the current direction? The current direction, if you look at, it will be from, it will be in the direction of hole only. So current direction will be across the junction. This will be the current direction. So let me call this as IE. Okay. So IE, the current that flows. So the green, let me say, so the green arrow corresponds to hole motion, and the red is electron motion, and then the purple is the current direction. Okay, current will flow in the opposite direction of the negative charge carrier, and same direction of the, so the resulting current, let me call it, because that is the current that is making the IE, the emitter current flow. So the emitter current, so emitter current we will show like this. So this is your IE. It will come out, and the symbol of the transistor will also match with the direction of the emitter current. If you look at for NPN, we are taking that arrow coming out of the emitter terminal. For PNB, the arrow is going into the terminal. So that is basically showing the direction of the emitter current. So the emitter current IE is made up of two components. One is due to the movement of holes from base to emitter, and the other is basically the movement of electrons from emitter to base. Now this ratio, we will define what is called as the emitter injection efficiency. Emitter injection efficiency. So this is with respect to transistor. So since we have doped the emitter region much higher, we call this ratio as gamma. What is gamma? Gamma is basically the current due to electron divided by the total current, which is the sum of IEP and IEN. So IE, the emitter current, has two components, one due to holes and one due to the motion of electrons. But electrons are like 100 times larger than the holes. Okay, so the holes diffusing from base to emitter, when one holes diffuse from base to emitter, there is at least 100 or more, maybe 500 electrons are diffusing from emitter to collector. So this ratio is for a good transistor BJT, it will be very close to 1. So that is emitter injection efficiency. Okay, so why it is important, we will see a little later. So you see that there is a lots of electrons that are reaching to the the base compared to the number of holes that are coming from base to the emitter. So we can almost neglect the hole motion and make very less error, because the majority of the emitter current, say, is going to be due to the motion of the electrons or diffusion of the electrons from emitter to base. So we want it to be that way. So then after this electrons reach the base region, our aim is that it should go on into the collector. It should be collected by the collector, okay, therefore the name collector. But for that to happen, so there is a junction here, next junction, base collector junction, that should be reverse biased, because we know that when a diode is reverse biased or a PN junction is reverse biased, then whenever there is a minority carrier entering into that junction, so for the P side, the minority carrier is electron. So when the electron reaches to the base, they are like the minority carriers, and this minority carrier, when it get into this reverse biased junction, okay, so let me just explicitly show it. So here is your base, and lots of holes are coming, electrons are coming into the base, because this is N plus and this is P and then this is N, and here there is a reverse biased region, and here it is a forward bias. So there is a thin depletion region which will be crossed by these electrons. So these electrons are going and they are coming here, and it is encountering another depletion region where you have the voltage basically across this like this. This is the electric field. It will be from N to P, because this side is going to be, N side is going to be forward, more positive compared to the P side, and it is reverse bias. Or even if the forward bias is very small, that is the case. There is a built-in potential, and due to the built-in potential, even if you don't apply any voltage across it, then also there is a built-in potential, and we will see that expression also. That built-in potential create an electric field from N to P. The direction is from N to P, and that is across this reverse biased or not forward biased junction. So these electrons which are flowing into the base, when they are minority carriers in the base region, because base is P type. So when it encounters this field in the depletion region between the base and collector, they will be swept by that field and it will go into the other side. Okay, so for that to be maximized, what we need to do is basically keep the width of the base. Okay, so this width WB, base width should be very, very small compared to the lateral dimension. So this is the lateral dimension, same. So compared to that width, it should be, the base width should be much larger. Okay, so let me call it as say y, W perpendicular. So WB should be much lesser, say at least 10 times smaller, or even more lesser than W perpendicular. And what is going to happen if you keep this condition? All the electrons which are reaching to the base, majority of them will be going into this reverse bias junction, and it will be swept away by the electric field in that junction. Okay, and it will reach the collector side and contribute to the collector current. Okay, so we want that to happen, and therefore the width of the perpendicular region should be much or it should be much greater than the width of the base region. So the this width, up and down width, should be much smaller than the horizontal width. Now otherwise what will happen if you don't keep this width criteria strictly smaller, then what is going to happen is that there are lots of holes inside the base region with which these electrons which have come into come from the emitter will get combined. Recombination will happen, and that will constitute a base current. Okay, so we don't want that recombination to happen. So, but that will, we cannot completely avoid it, but we can say that we can minimize it. So from the previous expression for emitter injection efficiency, we may write IEN is equal to gamma into IE. Then what I am going to say is that the collector current is going to be a fraction. So I am using a curly B into IEN. So all the electron, the current that has reached, or all the electron which diffused into the base, majority of them will get collected by the collector and will constitute a collector current. So that collector current is going to be a fraction of IEN, the current due to the diffusion of electrons, where this B, curly B, is called base transport factor. That means basically it determines if 100 electrons are diffusing into the base region, how many of them are getting collected by the collector, and how many of them are, the rest will get recombined and constitute a base current. So this is what the curly B is, the base transport factor is specifying. So we have written IC as B, a fraction, and again by keeping WB smaller as possible, we can achieve B close to 1. Okay. So now if I substitute this IEN, this expression, so this is 1 and this is 2. 1 is showing emitter injection efficiency, and 2 is showing basically base transport factor, and combining, putting 1 in 2 will give me IC is equal to B into gamma into I. Okay, and this is what we call as alpha into IE. Okay, so IC is equal to alpha IE, where alpha is, again, we want it to be should be closer to 1 as possible. For getting a good transistor which can be with which we can build amplifier, we need to have this alpha very close to 1, so that IC is almost equal to IE. So there are two factors that influence. One is the emitter injection efficiency, that is achieved by, so gamma can be made very gamma can become close to 1 by asymmetrical doping. I told you N plus and P minus. Then beta can be made close to 1 by decreasing the width of the base width can be so. So these are the two things. Now what about the base current? So therefore the base current IB. So IB will have two components. One is due to the diffusion of holes into the emitter, IEP. I mean, I is built up of two components, IEN and IEP, but IEP is due to the diffusion of holes, and those holes are actually supplied by the base terminal, and the other component is basically due to the recombinations, that is 1 minus this curly b into IEN. Okay, so all the electron which reaches the base region, I told you out of 100 maybe one of them will get recombined, and the rest will be collected by the collector. So that one recombination result in base current. The another way the base current will come is because of the diffusion of holes from base to the collector. Okay, so these are the two ways. And so if you rearrange, expand this, there is an IEN plus IEP, which is our IE, and minus beta, or not beta, curly b IEN. Okay, so we got IB. Now we would like to see the ratio. IB divided by or other, let me take IC by IB is a very important parameter for transistor. So we have the IC expression here, so let me call it as number 3 and this as number 4. Okay, so IC by IB is basically alpha IE divided by divided by IE minus this curly b IE. Okay, now again from 1 we know that IEN is equal to gamma IE, so here itself I can expand this 4 can also be written as IE minus gamma IE, which is basically same as IE minus alpha IE. So that is equal to alpha IE divided by IE minus alpha IE. So if I can cancel IE from numerator and denominator, and I will get alpha by 1 minus alpha, and this is what we call as beta. Okay, so the ratio of the collector current to the base current, we want it to be as large as possible. Usually the typical values of beta is something like for a good transistor, I would say beta will be like larger than 50 or 100, like etc. So 250 also available. Okay, so for beta to become very large, that will make a good device for constructing amplifier. Alpha should become very, very small as possible from this equation. So if we invert this relationship, so inverting, and so this let me call it as 5. The relationship 5, we have alpha is equal to beta by 1 plus beta. Okay, so that's a trivial. You take this equation, beta equal to alpha by 1 minus alpha, you cross multiply and rearrange, you will get so you see that if beta is very, very large, say 100, so it will be 100 by 101, which is like very, very close, like 0.99 or something like that. So for conclusion, so our conclusion is for achieving good BJT CARA for amplifier purpose, alpha should be close to 1 and beta should be very large. Now how or why that statement, I have to explain it further. Now what is the consequence of this? The consequence is that there are three currents, IE. So there are three terminals, and therefore this transistor has three current, IE, which is the biggest current, which is equal to IB plus IC. Okay, so these are the three current. This is basically the KCL equation. So this is the KCL equation of the BJT. Whether it is PNP or NPN, the direction of current may be reversed, but this equation will be same. Okay, so usually we take the positive direction as the direction of each of this current, emitter current, base current, and collector current. We take the actual direction of the current flow, so that will be the so that is actually given by the symbol itself. So if it is an NPN transistor, this is a symbol, this is emitter, this is base, and this is collector. So you can say that the emitter current is like this, and base current is like this, and your collector current is like this. So you can see that whatever is the sum of IC and IB is equal to IE. And similarly, if it is a PNP transistor, I will have the emitter current going into the device just opposite, and a part of that comes out, very very small fraction come out as IB through the base terminal, and through the collector terminal it comes out as IC. So IC is very close to IE. Of course it is little less because IC plus IB is IE, but you can always say that for a good transistor we always make it sure that IB is negligible compared to IC or IB, or IE. Okay. Now the next thing I want to show you is basically what is the magnitude of this IC current. So for that it will take some time. Maybe I will do it in the next class. But I will just show you what is the way in which we proceed. So what is the magnitude, derivation of collector current magnitude? What is the collector current? So for that we take the schematic diagram. So here it is our emitter, and this is our base, and then we have the collector. So when you reverse bias, you have a larger depletion region, and when you forward bias, you have very negligible depletion region. And so we are taking a N plus NPN transistor, so for the derivation. So I told you that if I plot the concentration of electrons, for example, as a function of x, okay, so electrons are majority carriers in the emitter and minority carriers in the base. Okay, I'm taking a negligible width for the base and drawing this. So what is going to happen is that the emitter is going to be very heavily doped. So this is like something like 10 raised to 8 per centimeter cube. This is a concentration of N as a function of x. How the concentration of electron vary. So on this side, this is what I earlier wrote as Nn. On the N side, the concentration of electrons, and on the P side it is going to be very very negligible. So if I also show small width, it may be better for the depletion region. So in the depletion region, as you know, there is no free electrons or holes, so that's why it is called depletion region, because it's devoid of any carriers. But normally it is going to be very small concentration in the base, because this is a p-type semiconductor. If you know the equation from the device physics, the number of electrons in the p side is basically equal to Ni square by n Na. Okay, so Na in this case is Nb, A for acceptor. So even if it is lightly doped, you say 10 raised to 15 is there. Okay, and for room temperature, Ni square is something like 2.25 into 10 raised to 20. Ni is basically 1.5 into 10 raised to 10. That's the room temperature intrinsic concentration, and this will be, even for lightly doped, you divide it by 10 raised to 15, and what you will get is basically approximately of the order of 10 raised to 5 per centimeter cube. So if you take, this is 10 raised to 18 in the emitter side, on the base side, even though it is lightly doped, the number of minority carrier is going to be tremendously high. Tremendously low. That means say around 13 orders of magnitude lower. So you can't really show it in the same way unless and otherwise you have a logarithmic scale or something like that in y-axis. But what happens is that though this number is very small, the moment you forward bias this junction, then it gets modified, and the new so that is, it is going to look like something like this. Okay, it's going to increase tremendously. So how did it come here? It came here because of the injection of, okay, I told you electrons will flow from emitter to base. So normally it was 10 raised to 15. So this is my, 10 raised to 5 per centimeter cube. But then it tremendously increases, say something like 10 raised to 12 or 10 raised to say 14, 10 raised to 15, like that, depending upon the bias that you apply. This difference is what I am going to call it as delta n at p side. But we are looking at a particular point, say, so let me take this as the reference. X is equal, this is my x-axis, and this is x is equal to 0. So this line is x is equal to 0. At that point, my minority carrier concentration, electrons are minority carrier in the p side, and the concentration of the electrons in the p side tremendously change with the forward bias. Okay, and there may be a slight decrease here, but that is very negligible. You won't even notice, because they are majority carrier and they are so huge in number, 10 raised to 18 per centimeter cube. So even if like half of it goes or it doesn't go like half number, maybe 10 raised to 15 goes, it's something like 1,000th of the so this increase will be decreased here, but since this number is so large, it's like 10 raised to 18, even if 10 raised to 15 goes to the other side, it is only 1,000th of its actual concentration. So you can comfortably draw it like straight here, not much reduction. Actually there is going to be a reduction, but the fraction of reduction is going to be very, very negligible. Whereas here, since the actual initial number is very small, 10 raised to 5, and if 10 raised to 15 comes here, it's going to be many orders of magnitude increase. So we need to know this, what is going to be NP, and if we know what is going to be NP, and we know on the other hand, so if I draw it more properly, So this is the depletion region, and inside the depletion region you will have a 0. So here it's going to be 0. So here it is going to be delta NP I have shown, but then it goes to 0 because at the depletion region you will have no carriers. So you can approximate it like a straight line, because our base width is also small. So it may be a different shape also, but maybe it is something like this. Okay, there may be a exponential kind of decrease. Actually it is a exponential function, but it could be approximated like a triangular function. Okay, so this exponential function you could without much error you can approximate it as a triangular function. So the difference in these two functions are negligible, and therefore that we will use to find out what is going to be the collector current. So tomorrow in the next class we are going to derive the expression for the collector current. So the scenario is like this: we have electron diffusing from the N side emitter to the base, and as a result there is going to be a large change in concentration in the base side, but then this increase the minority carrier will make it diffuse and go to the other side. So if you find the diffusion current due to this charge profile, we will get basically the collector current. Okay, so that derivation we will do in the next class. So today we will stop here.